this time, I would call the petition 2024-205. And who is present today?
My name is Steve Kuda. I'm the attorney for the petitioner. Also next to me is Sam Suchet, who's the one of the manager of the owner MS 2022 LLC.
I would ask that anyone who's going to testify regarding this particular petition that they stand and be sworn. Are there any other people here who are involved in this particular request? Steve, if you, the two of you both stand.
Okay.
Do all of you promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Kuda, can you state what you are hoping to do today?
Okay. My clients are requesting a variation from the rear yard setback of the McHenry County zoning ordinance. Right now, the property or the improvement on the property sits about 13 feet or so, 13, 14 feet from the boundary between my client and their neighbor, and they're asking to reduce that rear yard setback from that 13 feet to approximately 13 to 9 feet. The county indicates that the setback is 20 feet, but the building's been there for a long, long time, and the building, I guess as it is currently constructed, does encroach on that 20-foot setback. It's really, I guess, a question of whether or not the county's position that the rear yard is directly behind the building. If the county would consider property to the north as the rear yard, then we wouldn't be requesting the variation. The variation would allow the petitioner to construct a small addition to the property of approximately 4 feet by 25.5 to 26 feet, which would then permit them to increase the size of the cooler that they have in their building. The building is currently used as a convenience store for the neighborhood.
Okay. For the record, this is the application of 2024-025, and the applicant is MS 2022 LLC, owner of record. The request is for a variation within the B2 Neighborhood Business District and R1 Single Family Residential District to allow for a setback of 9 9/98 feet instead of the minimum 20 feet required from the rear west lot line. And the location consists of 0.49 acres, is located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Fox Lake Road and Ringwood Road. The common or street address is 502 West Ringwood Road, McHenry, Illinois, Township of McHenry. The tax ID or PIN would be 1005-401-018 and also 1005-401-017. The current land use designation is commercial and vacant, and the adjacent land uses would be single-family residential to the north, south, and east, and single-family residential / vacant to the west. The current zoning is B2 Neighborhood Business District and R1 Single-Family Residential District. The adjacent zoning to the north, south, east, and west would all be R1 Single-Family Residential District. The property is designated residential on the 2030 plan. The property is improved with a concrete block and brick commercial building, blacktop parking lot, trailer, storage container. And there is a wetland on the property. There is no floodplain. And there is a building permit that has been applied for in 2023 to construct an addition to the existing structure. Granting this request, if that were to happen, would allow that process to be completed. Kim, can you explain the building permit? What's the status of that?
Sure. So it is pending currently based on the outcome of this hearing and the county board approval of the variance, and then there are some building division comments that remain as well, but once those are addressed and taken care of, then that permit would be able to be issued.
Okay, but that was applied for legally,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And there are no pending violations?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And can you describe the property? Kind of a
Sure.
triangular parcel, is it not?
It is, and it's on a corner, so that does impact where, as Mr. Kuda stated, where we consider the rear yard. With a corner lot, the Unified Development Ordinance does indicate that the narrower or the shorter of the two sides that abuts the street is considered the front, and then the opposite side from that would be considered the rear, and that's why this has a 20-foot setback requirement rather than it being considered a side yard, which would only need 10 feet. As Mr. Kuda stated, there is an existing building that already encroaches into that 20-foot setback, so this is just a 4-foot addition to that, further encroaching, but still maintaining a 10-foot setback.
If you know, how long has this building been there?
That I don't know. Sorry.
1965.
There you go.
Sorry.
1965. You're young, you haven't been there since
No,
65.
we don't know that. We don't know, but I think McHenry County, somebody sent us picture.
McHenry County Assessor,
Assessor came.
Okay.
and they provide us a picture, and all people comes there, they are loving it, that they took a picture of it and they are framing in their house. And we used to come here, then when we were kids.
I was sitting in your parking lot and I had a survey of the property and I could hardly figure out where I was. What is the purpose for the cooler? Why do you need that?
Because we don't have enough room, and that's all, and it's not enough room. So we just want to put, like right now, everybody does like McDonald's everywhere. They put a cooler in the back and use it inside access.
Okay.
So we can put like 4 feet cooler. It's not too much. We're not putting whole building. We just only put in a cooler and outside, and just we don't load it inside at least.
As I'm facing your building, what is off to the right-hand side? There appears to be some kind of a structure.
Should
You
be
can pull up the,
in a left, by the truck will be left, not that side, other side.
What
Is
I-
this way?
That's what I was looking at. I parked right there by that one car and I'm looking this way. What is
That's
that?
on other side of the building.
That white thing right there?
Yeah.
No, what's that?
That is the old, they put a trailer, so they put it inside the trailer. I don't know how long that trailer over there, they put it inside storage, they put the lawnmower and everything, so we're gonna take that arm out and we're gonna expand the whole parking lot over there.
Okay. All right, but that will be removed. Is
Yeah, that will,
correct?
yeah, because we need more parking, so we're gonna move.
Yes, sir. You do need more parking.
Yes,
I noticed that.
so we always have problem, so that's the first day we wanna take that one out and move the parking.
Okay. Steve, we need to address these standards. I don't know if you have those in front. If not, I will tender that to you and ask you to go through those.
So Sam, could you tell us what hardship was placed on the property due to the shape of the lot or the strict letter of the zoning regulation? I think it has to do with the fact that there's confusion as to what the front yard and what the side yard is that right?
Yes, so I think we have the Smith Engineering working on it for the parking lot right now.
So if the rear yard was considered the back, you wouldn't have any
No, we don't
issues
have
with
no
the
issue,
county?
no.
Could you tell us why the hardship is unique to this property?
This is, because we needed little more room.
I mean, it's unique to the extent that there really aren't very many triangular lots in the
No.
county, correct?
No.
And the purpose of this is to upgrade your facilities, isn't necessarily to make more money.
No, because it's more better, we can get more stuff, we don't have too much, and it's all cooler, so we need some,
Do you have any idea how old the cooler is?
I have no idea.
But
Every time it's broke, so
so you feel you
we
need
need
to
to replace
upgrade
it,
it.
yeah.
And this is part of the upgrade of the whole property.
The whole property, yeah.
Okay. Did you have anything to do with creating the encroachment that already exists in the rear yard? I mean, you didn't buy the building was already there when you
Building
bought it.
already over there, as yeah.
Can you think of any reason why this the addition, and I'm referring it to as a little addition, it's approximately 4 feet by 24 feet, correct?
That's right, yep.
Can you think of any reason why that would be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to your next door property owners?
I don't think so. We can, whatever we can make it. If we want to make a fence, we can do it, whatever
Okay.
possible.
And would this variation impair an adequate supply of light to your adjacent properties? Increase congestion in the neighborhood that you're aware of?
I don't think so.
You don't think so, do you?
No.
And do you feel that this variation, if granted, would confer on you a special privilege? You do?
You're not asking for special treatment here, are you?
No.
Okay.
You just want to be able to upgrade and...
That's an upgraded, yeah. It's nothing like.
Okay. Now, it's my understanding that you've had discussions with your neighbor to the west regarding some type of fencing or protection.
I think my partner talked to. I don't know. I never talked to
Okay.
anybody yet.
And is that McHenry? Is that?
That's him, but I never talked to anybody.
Okay, maybe we should swear him in, because I think he did have conversations with the neighbor. Do you want to come on up here?
Because I don't know anybody.
So,
Oh, you know, we need to get you sworn in.
Promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I,
Okay, so it's my understanding that you've had some talks with your neighbor to the
Yes.
west regarding some type of buffering or something that can be done.
so,
Could you explain that to Mr. McHenry?
yes, so what happened, I talked to them yesterday and they have concern that, oh, you are not coming very far. I said, no, and there was a AC unit with the concrete block on it, so we are not passing that concrete section. We are going a little bit under, and we're going to put the fence because sometimes customer goes in the back and urinate and they have concern, and I don't know until she told me. So as soon as the construction is happening, we're also going to put the fence with the gate so nobody walks inside in the back side and does whatever they are doing to take care of the neighbors too.
So you're trying to be concerned neighbor.
Yeah.
I just have one minor disagreement. You're actually hoping to increase congestion in front of your store, are you not? I'll withdraw the question. Kim, any comments that you wish to add?
No, I don't think I have any addition.
I would be in favor of this request. It's a very straightforward request. This property has been in this configuration for a long time. It is a triangular lot and kind of an odd curved section of the roadway. What they're seeking to do is a minimal request. It's simply an expansion on the existing encroachment. I think they've met all the requisite standards. They did go through the appropriate process. They've applied for the building permit. This would allow for this to be completed. This will go to the county board with my approval. Understand that that does not mean it passes. You've got to go before the county board, not necessarily you personally. We're likely to be on the consent agenda, and a simple majority of the county board members attending that meeting, if they vote in favor of it, this would then be approved. And that meeting would next be?
June 18th.
Okay. You guys are done. Take the good-looking guy with you.
Thank you.
You want to go numerically then?
The one with the rally, I'd like to do that last. One with the rally, I'd like to do that last.
Excuse me, I thought we had the opportunity to
We're in the
speak by
neighbors.
the
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Oh, I'm
what I
sorry.
thought.
Oh, it was. If we can call back, I'm sorry, that's my fault. I didn't realize that. I didn't have the sign-in sheet in front of me. What did you wish to say?
But let me just, can I speak real fast and you have something? I'll just make it fast. I don't know if you have to swear me in.
Oh, you were sworn tonight.
Oh, okay. Can you just go back to the picture that, there was a picture of the store? Yeah, right there. See where it says rear building along west property right there? The picture up to the left. So right there, if you could see where those telephone poles are, my driveway's right there. I mean, my house is right next door to that. So the side they want to put the addition is, if you're looking at the front, it's on the left side there. That's another 4 feet closer to right where our home is. So that's my biggest concern. I know you said you approved it, but this store is already super close, and I've never had a problem. I've lived up there for going on 25 years. We've lived up there, and when we originally bought the home, they didn't even have a liquor license, Then I knew the guy, Neza, that owned it before then, and he was okay. But my point is it's already close. It's already close now, another 4 feet closer, at 26 feet all the way along the side. That's like the view right from our home. You can't see how close our house is. It's right there. I mean, it's right there.
Okay, surrounding the building though, there is a lot of vegetation, is there not? Maybe not in your side.
On my side there is. No, it's just on my side. Yeah, the vegetation side, it's all on my side. It's all cut back right there. So I'm just saying that it's like super close. I already got like a big problem with garbage and people going back there. I've had just all kinds of criminal activity throughout the years. For years and years, I had my car stolen in 2016 out of my driveway. So that's my biggest concern. Is, I mean, I know that they sell beer and all that, they have every right to. It's their business. I just don't know why they need to expand.
The cooler, is it going to be in the front where that car is visible?
No,
or
it's
is it
on the
going-
side of the building right there, all the way along the side. That's the side, my house is right there. It's not in the front, it's on the side. If you look at the store, it's set long ways. It's set long and deep. They want to do it on that side where the car is, all the way down the side, right where my home is.
Will that be coming closer to the car that is visible?
No, it's closer to the property line. Closer to power lines, they're all the way along the side there. That's why I wanted to speak.
Do you have a drawing, Steve?
Yeah, I've got it right there. That's where and the cooler's not accessible, will not be accessible from the outside. It's only going to be accessible from the inside. So it isn't like it isn't going to be like an ice cooler where people go out and, pick up ice or anything like
And we
that.
know that a lot of people go access, so we can block the whole thing in the back, that nobody can go in the back. We can
Yeah, I already got enough with that whole
Oh, I
side
have
there,
no
people
idea.
going back
That's-
there, and
We have no idea.
I'm not exaggerating, I just speak the truth.
But honestly, we don't know that people going back. We know, I love to block it. We done the my other property,
All
the
kinds
lake.
of beer cans, I got all kind of cleaning up every
Yeah.
week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can look over the side of my fence, there's all kinds of stuff, it's like a dumping ground over there.
Well, can you put an extent up toward, how far up towards the road can they put a fence?
A fence, like, well, if it's, are you talking about a privacy fence?
Yeah.
Privacy fence would need to be
And I'm
50
5
feet back from the 50 feet back from the property line.
Yep, and then I don't mean to interrupt, but my property's fenced, and I fence 5 feet off. I got a survey, I fence 5 feet off the power line so ComEd could get in there. So it's my property, 5 feet even closer.
Okay.
I mean, it's close, really close.
They do show a fence on your property. What kind of a fence would that be?
So I have a chain link fence around my whole property. I got 9 1/4 acres, and then right up there by the store, there's a lot of vegetation. I just put like a field fence right there. But it's chain link most of it, and then there's a section of field fence. Just because I had so many issues with people trespassing and throwing garbage and.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is not necessarily one of the issues or considerations for this hearing, and I don't mean to be ignoring that, but that's not part of the standards. We're looking at it from a different perspective.
I'm just looking at property values too. It don't do much for my property value, that's for sure, with it 4 feet closer. And you can see it plain as day, right from my home. And I never had a problem. Like I said, it's fine. It looks like a little house right there. But it's whatever, when you put something even closer. Especially, I mean, there's a reason that there's zonings.
I think the issues that are brought up as far as the trash and fencing, my clients have indicated willingness to work. They're relatively new owners, and they are going to. The whole purpose here is to allow them to make improvements. They're going to take that one structure down, so that hopefully, a year from now, or when the project gets finished, it's going to be better for the neighborhood. Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, if he could see that, can he see that right
Yeah, I
there?
think he's got it, he's got the,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, you see where my home is right there? It's right there. I mean, it's right there. So 4 feet closer is like, you'd see a car parked right in the driveway right there. That white van. All the way along that line right there. It's pretty damn close.
Okay,
That's
but
my
you-
driveway, my garage right there.
All right, so is this your structure?
Yep.
This
Yeah,
is your
that's-
car?
Yeah, that's my lot line right there where it goes
Yeah.
all the way up.
What is all of this on the lot line on both sides?
What do you mean, what is all that?
Is it vegetation?
Well, yeah, it's a driveway, I'm gonna pave right there. So if I, can I walk up there or no?
Go ahead.
So this, what we were planning on doing, right here, we're gonna widen, I already talked to the county, and we're eventually, I got a garage back here. Well, right here, it's paved, we're gonna widen up here, and then make a driveway and stuff. So then it's like even closer. But yeah, like I said, that's my garage right there, and then there's, it's like a hill right there. We're gonna put a retaining wall there, but regardless, it's close, super close. Right here's the driveway, the store, and here's my driveway. That's how close that is.
Okay. But currently, there is some vegetation between your driveway and the area he intends to.
Yeah, there's some old dead trees and stuff, but there's nothing like, there's not a whole lot. Yeah, there is some overgrown stuff that I just leave it in there, just for a little bit of privacy.
Tim, for him to do the driveway expansion that he wants, will that cause him to have to seek a variation?
Probably not, I would just need to get approval from the road district.
Yeah, because I own 25 feet off the side. I already called the county. I own 25 feet off the side of the garage there. So where the white car is all the way to the back, from that corner there, I own 25 feet off.
Okay.
That's really going to be
So you
close.
have enough distance between the end of your house and the lot line that you don't need any special permission
I
other than?
don't. I already called the county. Obviously, we have to get permits and stuff, but I called the county.
The 25 feet is a bit of a distance between you and where they're hoping to do this. It may be very close
No,
to your
that's
driveway.
just off the back or whatever.
look, all I can say is that, you know, my client will commit to working with you and the county to put up whatever type of fencing they can to provide, you know, some type of buffer. You know, from the aerial photos that we were looking at, it does appear to be a lot of vegetation there.
See, I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it if it was going here. If it was going in the back there, so the way the store's set, you know, right here. If something was going out the back, that's different. Well, right here, here's my deck and all that's my view right there. That's all, whatever, it's right there, and my wife's got a screen house and stuff. So that's her view of everything right there. So it's not going off the back, it's going off the side, is where it's going.
Like, we don't only have cooler. That's that, we're not doing whole property, it's only going on in this.
I'm not denigrating or putting down your concerns. I would still be in favor of this request. I think that they've met the requisite standards. The zoning rules have been passed in more recent history, and they're applied to properties that have been around for a long time, some of which are oddly configured, including this property and some of the adjoining properties. There is already an encroachment they're seeking to expand that. That encroachment might even have been there before this particular ordinance was even passed. So we're trying to apply current day rules to situations that have been in existence for some time. They seem like they're willing to work with you in terms of whatever can be done regarding the cleanliness of the property. Hopefully they will keep those promises, but I would stand on my earlier statement. According to the rules and the standards, they have met that, and I would be in favor of this request.
Which one did you want to do next?
I'd like to do the one regarding the Survivor Series, to do that last.
Last, okay. When is
So-
our last? Okay.
So what would be next then? Would that be?
Shum Sapor?
So is this, I'm sorry, 27?
23. 24, 23.
This is 23?
Yep.
Is everybody else here on the next three, as far as you know?
You said that you're here for the one on Route 47.
But I'm not the petitioner.
Right.
I'm for them, I'll support them.
Yeah, he was going to be running a little bit late today, so he might,
That's on 27?
Yeah.
that's 27, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that leaves us with, okay. Regarding the next two petitions, my name is Michael McHenry. I am the hearing officer today. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to make a statement will be entitled to do so. We'd ask that that be done under oath. And if you are making a statement or testifying, I ask you to keep your voice up so we can have a clean record. If a question is asked, please don't simply shake your head, give an audible answer, yes or no. There are a few simple rules. You will be treated with respect, and I ask that you do the same in regards to the people here and the people who are part of the staff. I will be making decisions. If there are issues or conflicts, we do not apply strict rules of evidence. And as mentioned before, if I approve this, then it goes to the county board with a simple majority of the then voting members to have it be approved. If I were to deny the request, then it would take a 3/4 vote of the McHenry County board members who are in attendance at that. That gets us to you guys. Can you stand to be sworn, please? Do you promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And we've discussed this. Which one is this now?
This is 24, 23,
This is 23?
the sheds.
All right. Okay, and I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your last name?
Shamsipur.
This would be 2024-023. The applicants would be Francis and Hamid Shamsipur. They are seeking a variation within the E1 Estate District to allow for a setback of 5 9/10 feet instead of the minimum 10 feet required from the south lot line for a shed. The property consists of 1.151 acres, is located on the west side of Fair Lane, approximately 1/2.5 miles north of the intersection of Fair Lane and Church Road. Common address is 10013 Fair Lane, Union, Illinois, Township of Coral. Tax or PIN would be 1723377-008. The current land use is single-family residential, and to the north, south, east, and west would all be single-family residential. The current zoning is E1 Estate District, and the adjacent zoning, north, south, east, and west, would also be E1 Estate District, and 2030 plan designates this to be estate. The property consists of a one-story brick and frame residence, deck, pool with concrete decking, barrier fence, frame shed. Claims to be a blacktop driveway, but I think it's concrete. and there is a detached garage that was recently constructed, no wetlands on the property. And there was a building permit K5477 applied for in March of 2024 to construct the subject shed. The applicants were informed that it did not meet the minimum 10-foot setback from the south lot line. And can you tell me why you're here and what you're hoping to do today?
There had been a shed in that same spot when we bought the home, which was in 2013, and I just wanted a bigger shed, by 4 feet bigger. And knowing that it was over 150 square feet, I went ahead and I applied for a permit on a Thursday, and the construction crew that was building the detached garage happened to find a warm day, and they said they can come out and start it, but I didn't think they were going to practically finish it in that same weekend. And that was on a Saturday and a Sunday, and then on Monday I got the permit review that said it needs to be 10 foot back.
If you could keep your voice up just a shade.
Oh, sorry.
Some of us happen to be old, stupid.
Yeah,
like that.
that's me.
Do you really have snakes on your property?
There's
But-
little tiny snakes. I'm sure they're harmless. I don't mind snakes at all, but I have a little Pomeranian that gets curious about everything. And I
Can you explain to me why you insisted on building that giant shed or that incredibly tall garage?
Oh, so that is to accommodate an RV.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was her idea, correct?
It was. It was. He had to say yes.
So currently, how many garages do you have? I count either 4 or 5.
5.
Do you desperately need a shed?
Believe it or not, I'm out of room. I don't think I'm a hoarder, but
I am.
but the RV took, because of the property lines, we couldn't expand the detached garage to bigger than 32 by 30, because there was a 50-foot setback and a 10-foot setback. And the garage couldn't be built much bigger. So there was already a shed in the back that was a 12 by 10, which should be on an old plat survey. And I just said, just give me 4 extra feet. So the builder gave me just 4 extra feet on that.
Kim, the last garage that was built, that was built pursuant to code and
Yes,
with the building permit?
yes.
When I look at that left corner of that new garage, I see what purports to be a boundary stake.
Mm-hmm.
It's awfully close to that. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, we did have a survey done prior to the garage, that big garage being built, and they said, yeah, you're more than 10 feet, you're 12 feet back from the setback. Now, actually, I don't know what it is now. But we did have to, for this particular situation, because we wanted to be exact about what we were asking for, we had another survey done, and that's why that stick is there now.
But that looks like it's closer than 10 feet to that newly constructed.
So I have a new survey.
If I could see it, please.
Yeah. I don't know
Is it
what it
this one?
says. Yes, it
The
sure
one
does.
that's there?
May I? Oh, yeah,
Is that
that's
the
it
one
right
that
there.
you have?
Yeah, that's the
I
one.
would like to see your actual survey.
Sure, no problem.
See, that's the stake that I'm talking about.
Yep. Yeah, so you've been here recently. It's still a mess. That is,
Okay, so it is more than 10 feet.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. It does look awfully close, I agree. And I wasn't able to, when I talked to the architect, I wasn't able to move it over. I actually wanted more room, but they said, no, you have to be this much back and this much away. So,
What is the foundation of the shed that's there right now?
wood. And it was wood prior.
Okay, so it's not concrete.
No, but the builders, when they built it, they put in concrete posts. They put in 6 concrete posts. Otherwise, they would have had it picked up and moved to accommodate.
And they filled it with gravel. They put the post on it, they filled it, there's no open space, they filled it with gravel, they put a insulating material on top of it, and then they built a floor on top of that.
Just a medium density fiberboard floor. It's just I personally don't even like that floor, but it is what it is.
Have you talked to your neighbors, and what have your neighbors said regarding the request?
Brian and Michelle Thomas is the lot that's adjacent to it, and they have no issue with it. They kind of chuckled. They said, "You're going through all that?" And I said, yeah. I mean, I didn't know, and I had read an ordinance online that it said it needs to be 3 feet away, and there was already a shed there for years in the same exact spot, and I said, oh, well, we're fine, it's no big deal, but I happened to read the city of McHenry, not the county of McHenry, which is 10 feet. So, but I talked to them, and I said, I just want you to know you're gonna get a letter, and they said, oh, it's no problem, and they said, you really went through, and I said, yeah, I mean, because I don't, if we plan to die there, so give us 20 years maybe, and I'm hoping that the next neighbor is not going to have an issue.
How long have you folks lived there?
Since 2013, October 2013.
Do you have any comments from staff?
Just that the previous shed, this is almost essentially in the same footprint. It's about a half a foot closer than what the previous shed was. And there is some vegetation there between, and as they mentioned, they didn't have any objections from the neighbors, so I don't have any concerns with that.
And to require them to move it since there are concrete pillars would be a hardship?
Yes, potentially.
I did try to do that. I did try to find a company that would do it. The only one was in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and he said it's going to take a lot, like more than what the shed would cost. So at that point, because I wanted to avoid this.
Yes, I will say, she did contact us before she even applied for the variance, looking at other options and trying to see if there was a way that they could move it so it wasn't just, out of convenience to do this.
Can I politely ask, are you folks done building accessory structures?
Yes, he won't let me.
We can assure you absolutely we're
Honestly, I
done.
wanted to do a greenhouse, and he said no. I said, okay.
Let me give you some standards that we do need to address.
Okay.
We'll go through those with you. Hopefully I gave you the right thing. Hopefully I kept a copy.
And also up on the screen if it's any
Oh.
easier.
Oh,
If it's
okay.
easier for you.
Isn't it true that the particular surrounding shape or topographical condition of the specific property involved will result in a particular hardship upon you folks, the owners, as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of the regulations were carried out? Isn't that true?
That is true.
Because it would be much more difficult to have to move the pillars that are already in place.
Yeah, and I also
That's
don't have a
correct.
place to move it, but
That's correct.
Isn't it also true that the conditions upon which the application for a variation are based are unique to the property for which the variation is sought and are not generally applicable to the property within the same zoning district? Isn't that true?
That's true.
Your situation is somewhat unique because there was a shed already there when you purchased the property back in 2013, correct?
That's correct.
Remember? No shaking the head, no. You have to
Yes.
answer yes or no?
yes, sir.
Okay. Is it also true that the purpose of the variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the monetary gain realized from the property? Isn't that true?
True.
It's true.
And isn't it also true that the alleged difficulty or hardship is caused by the ordinance and has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property? Isn't that true?
True.
You were not the folks that built the original shed and picked out the original location.
No.
Isn't it also true that the granting of the variation will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood in which the property is located? Isn't that true?
True.
And you've talked to your neighbor, at least your one neighbor, and they have no objection to it,
None
right?
whatsoever.
And isn't it also true that the proposed variation will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property or substantially increase the congestion in the public streets or increase the danger of fire or endanger the public safety or substantially diminish or impair property values within the adjacent neighborhood? Isn't that true?
True.
Is it also true that the granting of the variation requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other land or structure of the same zoning district? Isn't that true? If your neighbors had a similar situation and made a similar request, would you think that their request should be granted?
Oh, yeah.
Anything else, Kim, that you wish to add?
I have nothing further.
I would also be in favor of this request. It's relatively straightforward. This is sort of the purpose of the variation process. They are building on a foundation of a previous shed, not trying to get any closer other than a small distance. The neighbor is in favor of it. They have met the standards. So I would approve this, and this would go to the county board on
June 18th.
June 18th.
you don't have to be there. It will be the consent agenda, but you can certainly be there if you choose to be. Okay?
Okay.
Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
24, 27 was not here yet.
This is pretty bad.
He was waiting for an inspector out at the property today, and so he was in the order, like, do you want to move on to
Yeah.
the survey?
There's a lot of, what are we hearing? Let's see.
Okay. They have a meeting going on next door that I assume just let out.
Okay. So there are not people standing outside.
It doesn't look right. We should be dispersing.
All right, so this is 2024-28, correct? Anybody who is going to make a statement, I would ask that they stand and be sworn, please. Are you folks planning to make a statement? I promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
I do.
And please take a seat. And for the record, this is,
My name is Nicole Nisus. Oh, sorry.
for the record, this is 2024-028. The applicant would be Nicole, N-E-I-S-E-S, seeking a variation within the A1V agricultural district to allow for a temporary entertainment event to be 7 days in duration for the specified event instead of the maximum 3 days allowed, and also the temporary entertainment event to take place on the 4.705 acre parcel instead of the minimum 5 acres required. And the location of the property would be 4.705 acres located on the north side of Roundup Road, approximately 800 feet west of the intersection of Roundup Road and Old Draper Road. Common street address 6310 Roundup Road, McHenry, Illinois. McHenry Township, PIN tax ID number 0932-201-003. The current land use is single-family residential, and the adjacent land use would be single-family residential to the northeast and west, and agricultural / single-family residential to the south. Current zoning is A1V, agricultural district with a variation. The adjacent zoning would be City of McHenry to the north. The east would be E1 Estate, south and west would be A1 Agricultural. 2030 plan designates this as estate. The property is improved with a brick and frame structure, shed, decks, pool, asphalt driveway, and areas of concrete. No wetlands on the property. And there are some conditions that the staff would be recommending that the variation be limited to one temporary event to take place in the calendar year 2024. All requirements of the McHenry County Public Health Ordinance must be met with applicable permits for temporary food, service, sewage, water, and/or sanitation to be obtained from the Health Department prior to the event, and that all requirements of the McHenry County Fire Protection District must be met, and a representative of the Fire Protection District shall inspect the site prior to the commencement of the event, and all other applicable federal, state, and local laws must be met. Can you identify yourself, please?
My name is Nicole Nisus.
And if you could keep your voice up just because of the background
Yeah.
flutter noise. And you are?
My name is Michael Nisus, her father.
I'm sorry.
Michael Nisus, her father.
And
I reside at the residence. She used to live there when she was growing up.
In the room.
Is it the county board going to yell them to shut up? I just raised my tax bill.
It's the technical adjustment.
Okay, so are you the owner of the property?
Yes, sir.
And this is your daughter?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me what you're proposing, what you're hoping to do?
Yes, so the event is a game based on the show Survivor. And I get 20 people to compete in challenges. They sleep in the woods, eat limited amount of food, like rice that they cook on the fire. And then they vote each other off the island until there's one winner at the end. And it's for people who, like the show Survivor, would dream of being on it one day, but it's a hard thing to get onto a reality TV show, so this is a shortened version of that.
How did you talk your father into being a participant as one of the contestants?
Yeah, I haven't tried to compete yet.
But growing up, we would watch Survivor together, so I guess I kind of blame him for getting me into the series.
How do you find the potential contestants?
So there are people who play these Survivor games all over the country. So there's this group called Live Reality Games. So it's a mixture of friends and family and people who are part of the community, the Live Reality Games.
Yeah, but you had a local politician in recent years, did you not?
I did, yes.
How many times have you done this in the past?
This will be the third time.
So you've done it 2 prior times. Have they been in the last 2 years successively?
Yes, one a year.
And in the past, was it the same 7-day event or was it a 3-day event?
So last year was 7 days, and the year prior was 5 days.
Okay, I was the hearing kind of guy last year. I don't recall hearing this. Is there a reason why we...
We were not made aware of it until after the event had concluded last year.
Okay. Have you ever applied for an event request with the county before for either the 2 prior ones?
I have not. I did not know it was required. And then we received a letter from the county after last year saying that we need to have one moving forward.
Can you describe your neighborhood where the proposed event would take place?
Yes, Roundup is a kind of a secluded road. There's only 6 houses on the road. The neighbors to the left of me, they're never there. It's a weekend home, and I hear them there maybe 3 weekends a summer. The lady directly across the street, like my driveway runs into her driveway. She passed away a few months ago, so no one's living there right now. Her son's taking care of the house. He's not sure if he's going to move into it or not. And then the other neighbor across, I get along well with them, and there's no problems with the neighbors.
For the record, I did talk to your neighbor across the street, and he indicated he did not object to the request. How many acres of woods do you have?
I cut about, you can see the green area, I cut about maybe an acre, and that's probably at least 3 acres back there.
And there appear to be paths or trails cut through the woods. Would that be a correct statement?
Yes.
Can you explain that, please?
When we bought the place, I bought the property so my kids could ride dirt bikes and ATVs. That's something that I grew up with, so I wanted a property where they could do that. So we have a track back there, but it's kind of like a walking path now. We ride the ATVs back there once in a while, but it's not, we're not out there practicing.
I didn't see any open areas within the woods, are there?
There's small openings that are just natural. We didn't do any clearing in the woods.
I did see a picture on the internet, and the internet never lies. It appeared to be a tug of war in a muddy area in a field. An accurate picture, and where did that take place on this property?
The tug, I'll walk up. We actually have a sand volleyball court that was permitted. And off the pool, this is a sand volleyball court. And this tree is actually encroaching. The court is probably about that big. It's 60 feet by 40 feet wide.
Who is the better person to outline where the activities will take place, you or your daughter?
We have the plan, we
Yeah,
put
we-
it on, we submitted it with the plans.
Yeah. So this was an old plat. We did not, that does not have the, or it's not an old plat, but it didn't have the,
When I applied for permits for the pool and the volleyball, I put the pool and then I also had the volleyball court in there. I don't know why it's not on this particular doc.
Will the pool be involved in any of the activities?
yes.
Can you explain that, please?
So we have some, like probably once or twice a day, we'll have a challenge in the pool. And they might be something like they swim to the one end and they throw a ball and try to get it in a hoop. One year we did slingshots with little rubber balls.
And if the weather were to get bad, what happens?
Well, we would do a different challenge other than the pool. Or are you talking about severe weather
Just
where they
overall,
can't camp?
severe weather, lightning storms, things like that, what happens?
Yeah, lightning storms, we haven't had that yet.
You can't swim in lightning, that's,
Not so much concerned about that, just but people being outside in the woods in really bad weather, what happens?
We would probably bring them into the garage at that point.
okay.
How many tents would you set up for this event?
0 tents. So they actually sleep on a tarp in the woods.
And food preparation, how is that handled?
So my mom is in charge of the food and beverage, and she, this year, is going to be getting prepared meals and everything that's listed in the Category 2 foods for the permit for the McHenry Department of Health.
And the obvious issue of sanitation, how is that to be handled? And that's not in the pool, sir.
No. So we are doing porta potties. So we'll have porta potties and a hand washing station. The porta potty company suggested that we have 2, and then they can service it when they are needed.
And why the 7 days versus the 3 that you had done originally?
So the 7 days is because putting all of these activities into a short and condensed time frame, one is a lot of work to put that on, but 2, the people who compete in this event, they really get something out of it, and so the extended period really just helps with the whole experience in general. I mean, we have even Frank, who was the alderman who played last year. He was the first person voted out. He didn't do so well. But every time I see him, he gets tears in his eyes and talks about how much it meant to him to, even just have one night in the woods.
Kim, if they were to do this as a 3-day event, what would they have to get approval for?
Well, they still would have the issue of the lot size because our temporary use standards did just recently change to a minimum of 5-acre parcel for entertainment events. So they still would need a variance for that. But otherwise, it would just be a temporary use permit for a temporary entertainment event that allows for a 3-day.
Would that be fairly automatically granted?
As long as they provided all the information that is required, like the general liability insurance and food permits and all of that are required of a temporary use permit, yes.
So besides a request for a variation, there are other things that have to be addressed before they can get a permit issued, correct?
Yes, and we've had conversations, both me and Nicole, with the health department, with the state regarding people in the pool, camping on site, the sanitary facilities. So there are things that would need to be met and discussed with the health department to get that cleared up, as well as with the fire district, who has also been in contact about fire pits or anything like that that might be in close proximity to vegetation, or if there's any cooking facilities out there, anything like that. So.
But whatever requirements were subsequently attached or required to be met, those would have to be met whether this was a 7-day event or a 3-day event.
Correct.
And are any of the requirements so prohibited that it would defeat the ability to get that temporary permit?
I don't believe so. There are some questions that are out to the state health department right now as far as the using the pool, whether they're going to consider that public use or not. So those are questions that would need to come up, but that would just be a determination on whether or not the pool would probably be used, most likely, but.
Okay, if it were a public use of the pool, would that require any lifeguarding of any kind?
Did they mention what that entails?
It's mostly with the septic, and you'd have to have a separate bathroom on its own well and septic. So if they do say it's a public facility, then no, I would not have the event because we would not be able to meet the requirements.
Okay.
I don't make money on this event, so it's not something that I would be able to fund and afford.
So if they had made this request last year with 3-day events, and they were able to meet all the subsequent other requirements, the permit would have been approved without a request for variation.
If they had done a 3-day event last year, yes.
Okay, so why did we move from a prior acreage to the 5 days?
So there were a number of temporary use requirements that were updated in the text amendments this year. A lot of them had to do with rodeos and other types of entertainment events. So it wasn't anything specific against anybody's particular property, but found that they were more impactful on smaller lots, and so they had that set at a 5-acre minimum.
Okay. And what is the staff's position regarding the seeking the variation from 5 acres down to 4.705?
We don't really have any objection to that. It is close, and there is screening, vegetation and everything, so I don't feel that is a big ask on the lot size.
And if I ask about going from 3 to 7 days, I hate to say it, that to me seems like a big ask.
It is. It is the first time we've ever had anybody ask for a modification to that requirement. We have received an email from a neighbor that had concerns, and actually last year there were a few different neighbors that came into our office to talk to us about some of the concerns. A lot of that can be alleviated through conditions that we can put on the temporary use permit itself, whether it's specific setback regulations or limiting the number of cars or things like that. We do already have limits on if there's any amplified sound. I don't know if you do any kind of amplification of voice or music or anything. And then anything else that was a particular concern of theirs we can address through conditions. We don't necessarily have an objection to the length of time as long as all of the requirements of the health department and these other conditions that would appease the neighbors would be met. I did also want to bring up, I know it hasn't been brought up yet, but about the helicopter.
Yes.
Last year, during the finale, I believe it was, they had a helicopter that would not be permitted through our ordinance, so that could not happen this year.
Yeah, it's.
But yeah, as long as those restrictions are in place, we are only in favor of it being this calendar year though, and then it would not extend to future years.
It would appear that this could be an annual request, and once it's granted, then that's kind of granting it for future requests unless something drastically goes wrong.
Yeah, and I think that that's, there is a fear of setting a precedent that other events might come in and they want to do a 7-day rodeo or whatever it is. With this particular event, obviously we could see how it goes this year if they're approved. And if there's no complaints or problems or anything and it goes well, then I could see that possibly being approved for, future years. But we just don't know that at this point.
There are very few homes in this older section, and most of the properties are heavily wooded. And it appears that one neighbor has passed away, another neighbor I talked to. So where were the homes located that had questions or concerns last year?
My understanding is it's the lots just to the north of the property.
Yeah, lot 10 and lot 9.
Okay, will those be located in the city of McHenry?
Yes.
Yeah, we're unincorporated, and that's McHenry city limits right next to us, so, I bought property unincorporated thinking that we'd have more freedom to let the kids ride their bikes, and it's never been an issue for 20 plus years we've been there.
I mean, Nicole, to be honest, I'm conflicted by the 7-day request. And it seems to be a wonderful event, and you seem like wonderful people, and you want to do something that's unique, and people have a great time, and that's wonderful. But there are some constraints about what I can approve and what I can't approve. The whole ordinance starts out with narrowly construing things. And when you look at the variation, it talks about the variation process is provide a narrowly circumcised means by which relief may be granted from unforeseen applications. Going down to less than 5 acres, I have no problem with that. But to go from 3 days to 7, to be honest, I have a problem. Most of what we have are people who are supposed to be 10 feet off the lot line, and they want to be 5 feet for whatever reason, like the people that had the shed that had been there before. That's really kind of the purpose of this process. You're a big jump from 3 days to 7. Based on everything that I've heard, I would have a problem with the 3-day event, but I really do have a problem with the 7-day.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
If the time frame were reduced, whether it was 4 days, 5 days, something like that, would it still be feasible, or would you have to cancel the event?
It would have to depend, because some people are booking their flights.
Mhm.
And so it would have to be, can they change it? Can they reduce it? I guess though, my question is with this permit, if it's 3 days, it's, 3 days, you said it could be 3 days on, 3 days off, 3 days on. It's as
You have
many,
to have 4 days off
Okay.
between.
and it's as many 3 days events.
3 per calendar year.
So 3 per calendar year. So we're only having 1 though, so.
So you're saying you're basically combining the days into
Yes.
one time frame rather than 3 separate entertainment events.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the 7-day request. There are rules that I have to follow. I really, I don't know that I can approve 7, I can approve 3, but I think it's within the constraints of what I'm supposed to do and the rules I'm supposed to follow. In my mind, I'd be violating those if I were to go with the 7 days. Is it possible to approve this with the condition that it be limited to 3 days and then they can make a decision?
Well, you would just be making basically a split recommendation. You could recommend approval of the lot size variance, but recommend denial on the 7 days because 3 they're entitled to.
And that doesn't mean that your request is denied, that it simply would be my recommendation. You would then have to talk to the county board members who very possibly would do what you want to do, because you have some political connection. You've had people involved in the process.
Can I ask, what is the hardship between 3 or 7 days? What does that create?
The purpose, the stated purpose is narrowly circumcised means going from 3 to 7 is not narrow. Going from a 10-foot setback for a shed to 8 feet is minor. That's typically what we see. I've been involved in the zoning process for a long time, going back to 1990. This is an unusual request. I have not seen anything like this before. And if you were to ask around, my general position is I've approved most things that have come before this. It's just, I believe it's outside what are the rules that I need to follow. We have to go through the standards, and I think there's some standards. We have to go through the standards, and there's some that I anticipate I'll have some problems with. Let me pass it out to you. If you could address number 1, the particular surrounding shape or topographical condition of the specific property involved would result in a particular hardship upon the owner, as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of the regulations were carried out. It's a little bit cumbersome, but
Well, the only hardship would be, the hardship would be people who have made plans, all the planning that's gone into, all the things that have been built, would be all for naught at this point.
but in the past, your 4.701 acre lot would have been adequate. They have since changed the rules, is that correct?
Correct.
So you're not the one responsible for the change in the rules, it would be those people.
Correct.
The conditions upon which the application for variation are based are unique to the property for which the variation is sought and are not generally applicable to other property within the same zoning district. Aren't you glad you're not getting graded on this? And again, this is unique to your property because you're only 4.701 acres, 705 acres, and it was changed where you now need 5, and you've owned this property for 20 years, is that correct?
I think it's been 20 years, it might have been more,
And the purpose of the variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the monetary gain realized from the property. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
You're not doing this for money.
Oh,
No,
absolutely not.
I definitely lose money from hosting this.
And the alleged difficulty or hardship is caused by the ordinance, has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property. I would ask to split that in 2 ways. The ordinance changed and went from previously approving your size lot to one where you now need 5 acres, and that's not your fault, is it?
No.
No.
But you are the one seeking to go from a permissible 3-day event to a 7-day event for which you now have to have approval.
Yes.
And that's one that I do have some difficulty with. The granting the variation will not be detrimental to public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood. It seems that your neighbors in your unincorporated neighborhood approve of what you're trying to do and they don't object, correct?
Correct.
But there is some potential objection to other neighbors who are in the city of McHenry, is that correct?
Yes.
And some people seem to think a helicopter is questionable.
Yes.
And would you agree to remove the aspect of the helicopter if necessary?
I do agree.
And that would also encompass hot air balloons.
Yes.
The proposed variation will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent properties, substantially increase the congestion in public areas, or increase the danger of fire or endanger the public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values within the adjacent neighborhood. That's primarily for people that are building too close to a lot line, so they could then prevent sunlight or air being available to an adjoining property owner. So that doesn't really apply to you.
No.
The granting of the variation requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other land or structure within the same zoning district. Can you attempt to address that? I didn't write these.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to have a rodeo for 7 days next to your father's house, would you think that that was a good idea?
Well, they would have to apply for a variance, and
Well, my answer is, I would have no problem with anything anyone wants to do on their own property. So I would, you know, I've grown up my entire life riding dirt bikes. And where I grew up, by the time I was in high school, it was almost a joke. I'd ride around the subdivision once, and then I'd park in the garage and wait for the police to come, because everybody was just complain. So I don't complain. I think anyone can do anything they want on their property, but I understand there's rules. So that's why we're here.
Before we talk to anybody else who might be here in regards to this, Kim, can you give me your input on this?
I feel like I've addressed what staff would have any concerns with. Obviously, any disruption to any neighboring properties. We don't want to set a precedent for other entertainment events, going on for a long time that may be disruptive. We're kind of neutral on variations for the most part, but this is, it is a very specific use that has different things that will need to be met from different departments. So there is a lot that would go into it. I support your decision if you feel that it is kind of an extreme variance. You do also have the option to reduce the number in your recommendation if you were fine with a number more than 3 but less than 7. Just to remind you of that. But that we're pretty neutral on it. We would address the conditions that need to be put on it if it were approved. So.
How long have you worked for the county in your current?
25 years.
Okay. Have you seen any similar requests?
I haven't.
So this is somewhat unique.
It is.
And you indicated that the county did address these types of requirements last year.
Yes, for entertainment events.
And what was the reason for that?
As I mentioned, it did start from rodeos. We had some issues with some of the events last year, and an attempt to try to rein in some of that. There were some further restrictions put on entertainment events, mostly relating to rodeos though. So the lot size is pretty much all that changed for weddings, banquets, things like that, for other types of entertainment events.
What's the rationale behind a 3-day permit and not a longer?
I'm not sure exactly. That's always been in place as long as I've been working with temporary use permits. I think it's just so that so it doesn't extend to being in a permanent use or like something that would require a conditional use permit on a more permanent basis. Typically, these are weekend-long events. We see sometimes there's a fundraiser somebody might have over the weekend, or camping over the weekend, something like that. So they allow, Friday through Sunday is what we see most typical. So I think that's probably where the 3 days came from.
Is there anybody else here who wishes to make a comment?
I would like to talk. My name is Mike. I'm Nicole's uncle. I've been involved with her with this for both years too. The only thing it's as obvious that this is a unique request. It's a unique situation. It's not something anyone else does. the idea of going from 3 to 7 days, the main part of that for us from what we're doing for these people as they come to this event is that if you go on the Survivor show, you're on an island for 30 days. It used to be more, it used to be 45, now it's down to a month. So, and there's a lot of online live reality games. People do this online where they sit in their house and play games. And the excitement caused by these live games that started in the last few years is just incredible, right? And so these people, the ones that are signed up now are signed up for, they're excited about spending 7 days. Their goal is to, none of them, they don't all make it 7 days because one gets voted out each day, right? So only a few of them get, that many days in the woods, and they're signing up for that. So at this point, I think if we go down to 30 days, honestly, I don't know that we'd even be able to have the event because you'd have to go back to all these people and tell them now it's 3 days, not 7. They may not even be interested at that point. So that's I'm just throwing that out there as well. And the other thing too is, I get that it's hard to, it's like trying to get a value of your home and it's like no other house, right? We're doing something that's unprecedented. It's hard to talk about this. There is one thing though too, is there is zero money being made by anyone here. If anything, she's spending a lot of her own money to put this thing on, and it is purely just entertainment. And I guess when you set it next to let's say Mike has his 5 acres in McHenry and he wants his daughter to get married at his house, does he come here for a permit for that, or does he just have the wedding?
No.
I'm asking, I don't know.
Yeah, for family and friends, we don't require anything if it's just a private event.
So, but it's not family and friends, I'm inviting friends of friends. Is it that far of a reach is I guess my question.
On your own personal property, you can have graduation parties, weddings, things like that. If you rented out your property to somebody to have their event, or if there was an admission or anything like that, then it triggers a temporary use.
So that's my question, so why are we that far off from a wedding with this? That's my point. Why is it that far off?
Because you've got contestants coming in from around the country,
I
and
have
you've got
family coming in
production
from around the
staff.
country.
Well, I'm just saying, this was a determination made by the zoning enforcement officer that this is a public event.
Yeah.
It's not just a
Yeah,
wedding.
I'm just throwing it out there because it doesn't, if you could make a case either way is my point, right? I could lean into that and say, well, it's similar to that. It's a one-time deal. We're not doing it every weekend or anything like that. So anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for listening.
I just had like one possible option. It sounds like a lot of your issue is the precedent that this is gonna set. But comparing this to a rodeo is just like complete, like I don't know if you know the whole scope of the game, but it's completely different. I mean, our production members go home at night.
Yeah.
There's nobody there at night. It's wrapped up at night. It's just an event, like basically during the day. These people are getting voted out. I don't know if there was a way that you could note, if it was approved in the variance, that it could be less than 40 people, because that would change the precedent of a rodeo or anything like that. Like, this is a temporary use for the public of 40 people. It's not for a temporary use for 500 people to be on 5 acres for a week. I don't know if there's a way to possibly
We can put conditions.
put a condition
If it
on
were
it
a matter of something like that.
that would change the option for the precedent in the future, if that was what you were concerned about.
My concern is different, and I'm not comparing this to a rodeo. My wife, who doesn't know who Michael Jordan is, can name all of the top 10 bulls in the PBR and the riders, and I paid the $100 so she could sit there in that little round thing in the middle of the arena and be terrified by the bulls. So I'm not anti-rodeo. The problem is I'm an attorney and have been for 50 years, and there are constraints, and I'm given authority by the county board subject to those constraints, and regardless of my personal opinion or wants or desires, I have to follow those rules. And I just think that this is an ask beyond the authority that I have. I mean, when they do define the purpose and they talk about narrowly circumcised, this is a very limited hearing. This has never been done before. I've been involved with the zoning since 1990. Kim's been for 25 years. It's a unique request. And everything is generally very minimal in terms of what's requested. And if it's a very minor request, you don't even have to have the hearing. They can deal with it administratively. But this is wildly beyond what they can do, and unfortunately, I think it's beyond what I can do. And even if I were to approve it, it would, I mean, it's really a county board decision. They have looked at this in the recent past. They have addressed some concerns. I just don't think that I have the power to deviate, to go from 3 days to 7. You certainly have the right to argue that to the county board. It has nothing to do with, I think what you're hoping to do is spectacular. I think it's wonderful. And I wish I didn't have to take the position I'm going to have to take. Anything else from anyone?
What's the time limit on the city of McHenry's events?
Oh, wait,
That's
yeah.
what I just, anybody check?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The time limit that City of McHenry has for events, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm just curious if.
I think most of the county events are normally weekend events. John Burke's
Right,
Shop and School used to be.
that's where
3
3
days.
days, but there are one, you know, I know there's some, I don't know, McHenry specific, I just.
Hmm.
I thought you were here to object to him.
I'm not to object to it, no, I'm just supporting him. He hasn't spoken yet, but I will.
I haven't said a single word. I'm just listening, and I'm just keeping it to myself.
I was just more of a curious question, just not one way or the other, just curious.
Yeah, I guess if I were to, talk to the county board and
You have every right to do that.
yeah, make a statement on this. I would say the 3 days are in place so that it doesn't happen forever and ongoing. So I don't think 7 days means it is a forever and ongoing. So I don't think it's that big of a stretch because there is a time limit on it.
All right, so if there's nothing else, then at this point, I would approve the request for the variation from 5 acres to 4.705 acres. There is a recent change, and there's no applicable reason for that change that would prevent this property being considered for the use that is requested. There is considerable planning that has gone into this and a designation of the appropriate portion of the property for the use that they're requesting, and to simply add less than 3/10 of an acre is of no consequence. In terms of the other request for this being a 7-day event, a variation from the 3-day, that I cannot approve. I don't think that they can prove that they've met standard number 4, that the alleged difficulty or hardship is caused by the ordinance and has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property. I don't believe they can meet that. And I also feel that they cannot meet number 7, that the granting of the variation requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other land or structure of the same zoning district. The request that they're seeking is a substantial deviation from what is permitted. The county has looked at this currently. My fear is that to grant this would be opening the door, and other people down the road who may not be as well intended would then have a stronger legal claim to try to make a substantial deviation from the 3-day time period. So that I cannot approve. That will go to the county board. It will be that same meeting.
June 18th, just so that you are aware, there is a committee of the whole meeting the Thursday prior to that, which would be the 13th, June 13th, at 9 a.m., where there is a public comment period that you would have the ability to speak to the county board members if you wanted to at that time. Or you could send something in writing, of course, if you wish.
And there's no hesitancy for you to contact county board members, try to explain what you are doing. You could conceivably be on the consent agenda, but it's also possible that they could pull it off the consent agenda. Yours is one.
This, with the recommendation for denial
It will
on
not
part
be
of
on
it
this.
would be on the regular agenda,
Okay,
so we'll
so
not be
we'll
on
discuss
this.
it.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Okay, thank you. It's okay.
Speaker session.
I got my
out there for Crystal.
That's-
Well, it's a good thing those took long enough that it gave you time to.
Yeah, he was, first of all, really good, very good.
All right, last one.
Sorry?
Last one.
Yes. And I'm tired and irritable, so
Uh-oh. Good timing.
I have to find the last one.
24, 27.
Has anybody ever used your canoe?
My kids use it for fishing.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, this would be petition 2024-027. The applicant would be Rafael Ariano and Susanna Ariano-Bravo, the owners of record, seeking variation within the A1 agricultural district to allow for a setback of 20 feet from the north side property line instead of the minimum 30 feet required. And the location, subject property consists of 8.825 acres, is located on the west side of Illinois Route 47, approximately 1,200 feet south of the intersection of Illinois Route 47 and Lucas Road. Common or street address is 4215 South Illinois Route 47, Woodstock, Illinois, Township of Door, tax ID or PIN 1329200-008. Property designation is agricultural on the current land use map, and to the north would be agricultural, to the south would be agricultural hyphen commercial, east and west would be single-family residential. There's nobody across the street from you, is there? No.
East is ag.
Current zoning would be E1 Estate District, and the adjacent zoning would be E1 Estate District to the north and south. East would be vacant, west would be transportation/communication/utilities. Good luck with this plan. 2030 plan is designated retail. Property currently has a metal storage container, frame lean-to, frame doghouse, and gravel driveway. There are some wetlands on the property, no floodplains, and there's a building permit K-5557 applied for March of 2024 to construct. I've done this for a long time.
Barn dominium?
Yes, I've never seen this request. You, sir, are unique.
They're not.
We've been seeing a lot of them lately, actually.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, they're,
Okay.
yeah.
That would be a residence with an attached agricultural barn. Applicants have notified that the proposed structure did not meet the minimum 30-foot setback from the north lot line. The applicants own the property to the north of the property in question, did a deed restriction to combine the two parcels. So that could potentially alleviate the need for this request, but for future purposes, they're hoping to get this granted.
Correct. So an update to the staff report, since I actually printed that, is that the building permit has been issued for this structure and it is currently under construction. The deed restriction that was recorded with the recorder's office ties his two lots together so that the setback is not an issue at this time. The granting of this variance would allow him then to remove that deed restriction so he could sell that other lot off at what time he chooses.
Okay, but how, this is an extremely reputable local resident who does everything the way that he should do it. But how does he get around the purpose of the variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the monetary gain realized from the property? How do you get around that? And that's kind of what he's doing.
You're planning on living there with your family, correct? This is, it's just.
The part of the medium is me living there. So there's a whole, what happened here is that everything on that lot has been done with the permit. I have not put a nail on that place without a permit, and Kim knows this. So what happens is at the beginning, I just had the intent to do just a pole barn. That's when we had a, right by the entrance, if you look at the entrance, I have ComEd put a transformer. So I had to do underground cable, which was 1,060 feet into the property. So we did the cable, put the meter, everything in there. And then when that was done and everything was done, then about 2 weeks after that, we we changed our mind and said, why didn't we just make it biolumineum? Because they have become very popular. So what happens is when I first got the permit, it used to be a pole barn. If it was a pole barn, then it's only 10 feet required from the property line. So since that driveway that you see on top is not even, if you see how it goes in and out, so if you look at it, that the driveway that was there, that driveway was done by Mr. Berthold, who owns a tree nursery on D Street, which is now Lenton. He was there for many, many years. I worked for him when I was 15. But that driveway, they used to do it to cut, they pull out trees and then use that driveway to go to 47 instead of going all back down from D Street. So when they squared the building, I told them, stay away more than 10 feet, just in case. So if you look at that corner, which is east, where the 7 is and the 0, on your right, that one is 20 feet away from the property line. So even though when I was doing the pole barn, it was only 10 feet, I said, just keep more just in case. So that corner is 20 feet, but the corner where the home is gonna be is 30 feet away. So, and the reason why it was that is because the driveway is not straight, is not even. So part of the pole barn and part of the living space, it does comply with the zoning, which is 30 feet. That other corner is 20 feet. And the reason why we couldn't move it is because the meter was already there, the cable was already there, everything from ComEd was done and approved, and also with the county. So that's why right in the corner you see the ComEd meter, which is going to go to the inside of the pole barn. The parcel on the north, we own that, and all we're asking is we have plenty of space between where the pole barn is going to be and the property line. And all we're requesting is that if you could grant us that variance.
The property to the north, what are the dimensions of the frontage? What's the width of the property?
The width of the property is the same as the bottom one. It's almost 9 acres. Frontage is 330, and then as far as length is about 1,200.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's plenty. And I own that one that I'm building. I own the one on the north, and I own the one on the west side.
So if somebody wants to put a house on the property to the north, there's plenty of space for it. This would not be a problem. Do you agree, Kim?
Correct. They would also have to maintain a 30-foot setback on that side.
Okay. And what's staff's position regarding this request?
We don't have any objections. It's, as Mr. Ayano mentioned, the initial intention was to be an accessory barn that does only require a 10-foot setback. Because of the angle of the building, the residential portion is 30 feet from that lot line, but the corner of the barn, the actual agricultural part of it is 20 feet, and that's why the variance is needed, so I feel it's a minimal request.
All right. We do have to run through some questions. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm for it. Go. I don't even know him, but that's why I'm here.
Okay.
And you're part of the...
I'm across the street. I just saw your thing come up, so I came to see you.
Where
Just to meet you.
Where are you located?
I'm the guy across the street in the swamp. I'm next to the farm, to Al's, the guy who farms. The barn, you got the red barns, 20.
So you have a, like a...
I'm sorry, we're taking
sorry.
I'll talk to you after, it's okay, yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
How many different critters do you have on your property?
Critters?
Animals.
I really don't have, we fence the whole thing around, so I used to have a problem with my poultry with the coyotes and the raccoons.
Lunch.
But since it's fenced around, so at night I have 2 German Shepherds to let it free, so I don't have that issue anymore. But it's completely fenced around. Both of those parts are fenced around for the same reason, and they're free range, so that's why they go out and eat, so I don't have to worry about feeding them in the summer.
Okay, so the first standard is, isn't it true that the particular surrounding shape or topographical condition of the specific property involved will result in particular hardship upon you, the owner, as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of the regulations were carried out? Isn't that true?
Yes, it is.
Good answer. Is it also true that the conditions upon which the application for variation are based are unique to the property for which the variation is sought and are not generally applicable to other property within the same zoning district? Isn't that true?
Correct.
Your property is somewhat unique because of the location of some of the things that ComEd has done, correct?
Correct.
And isn't it true that the purpose of the variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the monetary gain realized from the property? Isn't that true?
Yes, it is.
You simply want to be able to build your house rather than putting up a pole barn, correct?
Correct.
And isn't it true that the alleged difficulty or hardship is caused by the ordinance and has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property? Isn't that true?
Correct.
And isn't it true that the granting of the variation will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood in which the property is located? Isn't that true?
Correct.
This would simply allow you to conceivably have a home built on the lot that is to the north of you, correct?
Correct.
And that would be beneficial to people because we need more homes, correct?
Correct.
And isn't it true that the proposed variation will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, or substantially increase the congestion in the public streets, or increase the danger of fire, or endanger the public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values within the adjacent neighborhood? Isn't that true?
Correct.
And the property to the north is a 9-acre parcel, and it's 330 feet in width, so there's plenty of room for construction of another home, so they will have adequate air and light, correct?
Correct.
Isn't it true that the granting of the variation requested will not confer upon you, the applicant, any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other land or structure of the same zoning district? Isn't that true?
Correct.
Do you have anything that you wish to say?
No.
I would be in favor of this request. He has met all the requisite standards. He has appropriately applied for the building permit. He's trying to do all the right things. He is attempting to build something I've never heard of. I live in Wisconsin. They have condominiums. I don't think that that's a legal concept, nor do I think a barndominium is a legal concept. But that being said, this is a minimal request. He has met all the standards. There is no one here objecting. There is someone here for God knows what reason. I would be in favor of this request.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. I've had my first inspection.
And you are correct, barndominium is not accepted.